Have you seen Monstrous yet? It's available on demand. It's rated PG-13. It's a horror. It's billed as a horror film. It's not really a horror film. It's more suspenseful. It's more drama than horror. But here's my review of Christina Ricci's new film, Monstrous. Christina Ricci stars as Laura, a single mom who escapes her abusive ex to a faraway 50s Art Deco farmhouse where she and her son, Cody, can feel safe or safer. But they're anything but. Cody, played by Santino Bernard, has night terrors instantly as soon as he gets there, and he's ready to go. He sees monsters right outside his bedroom window and demands that they go back to Mesa, Arizona, where they came from. This film is poorly executed. In theory, it seemed like a good idea. It's seemingly set in the 50s. The house is very beautiful, but it's predictable. You know the hook, and you're just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for it to finally be revealed, and you already know what it is. Then there are plot holes, like her job as a typist receptionist. A receptionist asks her, Christina Ricci's character, where she gets her clothes, which are 50s retro, but her boss is dressed retro too. And everyone who wears glasses wears these retro 50s, 60s glasses. Laura also takes Cody to school every day. And those students at one point point Laura out, like pointed her car. We are as an audience, are to conclude that this happens because they're pointing her car out to a teacher because she doesn't have a student at this school. We know the ending, but we're trying to piece together the mystery, even though it's obvious. Also, Laura complains on the phone to her mom that her mom gave out her number to her ex. Laura uses the term we, but her mother uses the term you. So it's just these little inconsequential clues that we have, but they're so little and so minor that once you finish the film, you look back and say, yeah, that was so obvious. It's really quite easy to figure out the hook. And her doctor wants her off meds. Okay, what's her medical condition? We never know. We never know if she is schizophrenic or if she's grief-stricken or what. Why is she on meds? Our only real clues are a photo of her grandmother dated 1956, and we understand that she couldn't possibly be living in the 50s around her grandmother's age in this photograph. And a water monster took Cody, so he wasn't alive the whole time. But why the water monster? Did he drown and that's how he died? So many questions, unanswered questions. And the car, it's old and broken down. It was likely left to her by her grandmother decades earlier. Okay. There are these this is how they're telling us what we were watching. And Laura holds on to the fact that her grandmother once told her that she'd do well in the 50s, so she pretends to live in that time to cope with grief. There's a story in that basic or high concept premise or idea, but it just wasn't executed here. A better execution of the high concept idea was in What Lies Beneath with Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford. I think that was better executed, and it was more suspenseful, and there were horror and jump scares in the film. This one had no jump scares. It really just unfolds and makes the audience wait. I don't know. It is just... Now, Christina Ricci delivered a great performance using her eyes, facial expressions, and body language to portray an emotionally and mentally unstable woman in search of peace and forgiveness. I think she did a fantastic job. It was the material. I think the score might have served the film better if there were chords specific to the 50s to help make the tone believable. The sound didn't transplant or transport us to the 50s. Again, this was a predictable story, so we should have had some music, horror chords from the 50s to sort of make it a little less predictable and a little more believable. Tonally, it leaned more drama than horror or suspense. And then the cinematography, it bounced from bright, very, very bright, to very, very dark. But the set overall was very beautiful. The costumes are very beautiful. The editing was decent. Since some of the CGI was inky black, it looked kind of shadowy. I don't know. I think on a grading scale, I'd rate Monstrous a C. Also, the name doesn't make sense. Even with the water monster, the name doesn't make sense because the water monster doesn't move the story in any way. It does not move the story. It's a set. It doesn't really move the story. It needed a better title than Monstrous. But this film is currently on demand. That's how you can view it. It may be in theaters near you. Thank you so much. If you stuck around this long, certainly appreciate you. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, peace.